Center Group. We built an Eiffel Jira plugin. My name is Brandon Rudisell. With me are my teammates Jaden Young, Brett Connect, and Brendan Curran. Little introduction. Our sponsor is Software Center. More specifically, we've been working with Linköping University. Our contact there is Ulla Liefler. Towards the end of the semester, we discovered the true pronunciation of his name is actually Ulla Liefler, and we had been calling him Ulla the whole time, which, as we now know, is a woman's name. The other option is Ola, which is something far worse. With him, we worked with his PhD student, Azim Ahmad, and another contact, Daniel Schall, with Ericsson Telecommunications. Now, Software Center is not just one entity alone. As we already discussed, there's also universities involved with it, and other European, mostly Scandinavian companies, such as Volvo, Saab, Bosch, and Siemens. Software Center's mission statement, off of their homepage, is to work together to accelerate the adoption of novel approaches to software engineering. One of those novel approaches is the Eiffel Framework. The Eiffel Framework enables technology-agnostic, enterprise-scale continuous integration and delivery with maintained scalability, flexibility, and traceability. But what does that mean? It means that Eiffel allows for heterogeneous tools to work harmoniously in a work environment. This would allow continuous integration softwares such as Gerrit and Jenkins, or version control such as GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, or SVN, Subversion, to work together, creating a small layer on top of them of a shared vocabulary. This is something that I've faced personally in my actual work. Some projects using GitLab and then transferring to, say, Bitbucket, as well as some projects using Subversion. Eiffel aims to allow developers to use whatever software tools they please. Eiffel is licensed under Apache 2.0. The problem that we were faced with is that they wanted Eiffel to have a means to receive Jira events, a plugin for Jira. This was in an effort to expand the library of compatible softwares for Eiffel. Along the way, we also introduced new events into the Eiffel framework.
So our solution to approach this problem was to use the Jira webhook API. The main reason we chose this is because for Jira, there are two main ways to host Jira. One is on a local server, your own server. The other one is through a cloud-based system. The Jira webhook API would allow us to interact with both of them. Our plugin catches information being deployed to a URL that you choose. We're listening for the blobs of information to come in. We process that and then ship it off over RabbitMQ to Eiffel. For the first two sprints, we made contact with the Eiffel community and began our collaboration with them. We prototyped an implementation to get a feel for what it is we were after. We began iterative design with the community's input. Through this iterative design, we identified a few dependencies, mainly validation and a persistence solution. The problem here is they weren't well defined. We wanted to move them out to a more accessible location for additional plugins later on, so it wasn't being reinvented each time. For Sprint 3 and 4, we continued our discussion with the Eiffel community. We edited some proposed changes as they came about. We defined changes, and they're currently in the process of being merged. We have a pull request out for the repository. Additionally, we have some other event types that aren't currently approved that we're hoping to have pushed in, but we're waiting to hear back on those.
Alrighty. So, where are we now? What have we done? Kind of story of our project is that there's been two threads, really. There's been software that we've written, but we're not really sure what we want it to do in the end, right? Because there's the Eiffel Protocol, which is a separate entity. A little bit of history is that the telecom Ericsson actually internally developed this protocol and then later decided to open source it. But in the process of open sourcing the protocol, they've gone through pretty much a total rewrite. And really it's a protocol that specifies this is the structure of, say, what happens when a source control system issues a commit. And it looks like this blob of JSON. This is where you put your fields in. Now all your systems can talk to each other. One of the issues we ran into was that its slated purpose was really more in the CI/CD land, continuous integration, continuous delivery, and not so much with issue management. If any of you guys have used things like GitHub or Jira, a lot of times you notice that there's special syntax you can use in commit message, where if you do like a little hash and a number, it'll link back to the issue in your particular issue tracker that's integrated with that. And so there was a notion of that in the Eiffel Protocol already, but we wanted to expand that out. So we expanded that out into its own first-class identity as a issue-defined event. That right now has been accepted into the Eiffel Protocol. The other two things we wanted to add were issues statuses being modified, transitioning from states of being open or closed, anywhere in between, and also having a way to say that an issue has been assigned to a particular person so that you can trace back, this is when an issue started, this is all the work that's been done with it, these are all the test case executions that happened everywhere towards it. But as they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we do have a little demo. Let's say if we come here, normal Jira workflow, let's make a new task. We can create it here. And if we look over at our RabbitMQ, very squished, we can see that we got a blob of JSON in Eiffel language, in Eiffel speak, that has a little bit of information about it. We can also go back to that one, lost. We also do have functionality currently for issues being assigned and for being marked as in progress. If we go back, we can see it. Same thing for assigned, if I did want to go through and get that. But yeah, that should be good. In the interest of brevity, we will not, there it is, dwell on that too long.
For issues and risks, one of our issues was, one of our stretch goals was to integrate our proposed event types into the visualization software. Unfortunately, the visualization software targeted an old version of the protocol, so we weren't able to actually achieve that stretch goal. And then risks, we always ran the risk of our proposed additions not being accepted into the protocol. Post-mortem, what went well was our implementation of the software. We got it working. And then our interaction with the Eiffel community. Our topic, our thread on the forum about in the Eiffel Google group is the most read and discussed topic within the community by quite a bit, which is pretty cool. What didn't go well, we weren't able to reach our stretch goals, and we wished we would have fully integrated the visualization of our project. Next steps would be to integrate the plugin into the visualization program, and then also write up an outline of existing issues to pass on to the next team to take this project. We need to record reference material for Software Center, kind of going over what we did, and then our final debrief meeting with our sponsors. Any questions?
I have a question. So where you're at right now with your goals, am I right in understanding that you can take a JIRA event, send it with the correct Eiffel protocol in JSON file to any other subversion control, and it will take that data from the JSON and use it correctly?
Yeah, so kind of the big central tenet of the architecture of Eiffel system is that they've really kind of centered around using RabbitMQ as a message broker. So we take that blob of JSON in JIRA speak, transform it into a corresponding Eiffel event, and send that off to RabbitMQ. Whoever chooses...
From RabbitMQ now?
Yeah, it can be taken straight off of RabbitMQ. That's the visualization software right now. It takes events from RabbitMQ, and you just take the JSON blob, do what you will with it. That's, and without getting too much into message brokers, the kind of delineation of responsibility it's there, and then whoever wants to take it can. But yes, that does work.
So in the future, would you have, what's your thinking about having capstone projects that are sort of dependent on open source community responding? Is there time frame issues that just we shouldn't be doing that?
I think probably the biggest issue is just that we came in at such an early stage in the Eiffel community, in that the protocol is still evolving rapidly, so we don't know exactly what we're trying to produce in the end. And also there hasn't really been, or at least there wasn't, an idea of an architecture, a shared, not really a diagram, but just this idea of whose responsibilities are what, where the lines between actors are drawn. And that was one thing we spent a lot of time on, going back and forth with the community. And actually our discussions resulted in the creation of a new repository with lots of cool diagrams and things about this is what this person does, this is what this system does, this is what you should concern yourself with.
I would add to that an open source project requires a lot of communication with the community, and that the community members for our project were at a 7-hour difference to us, and that can make for a lot of lost time waiting for a response.
And then knowing all this going into it, I think would have been a little bit more help. I personally have no experience with open source communities, so knowing that how this worked would have made the learning curve a little bit easier for me personally. Any other questions?
Is there any licensing hurdles or anything we had to do for the open source?
Fortunately, everything's Apache 2. Everything that we've touched. We haven't run into any other particular issues.
Just to kind of follow up on the open source angle again, since this is something where it's an open community, are any of you kind of planning on maybe continuing on with this over the summer or going forward, or are you just kind of out at this point?
We do have a one final meeting with our sponsor on I think it's May 16th. So I mean that's the summer, but I'm personally done with computer science after May 12th.
I think there are a couple little tiny things that I want to add, want to get done.
Thank you.
Awesome.